AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride!
Hour 3 off. We go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Matt.
This is Shaq O'Neal, and I hate Matt.
Paul O'Neal.
They're chanting Paul O'Neal's name.
And Mr. Toby Tom Play. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. 5 o'clock quitting time. Glad you are driving home with us. Keep you updated on the baseball game about to get underway with the Sox and the Yanks. Otterlocks later this hour. Every Tuesday we visit with Sean Salisbury, and my goodness, do we have a lot to get to today. Sports Talk 790 in Houston. Unpaved on Rumble. That's the YouTube show. Weekdays at noon Central, and he's on Twitter, X, at Sean Unfiltered. Yo, man, how are you? Thanks for the time.
I'm doing great, man. Good to talk to you. How are you?
I'd be doing a lot better if LSU had a running game. It's been the most gigantic question here, Sean. Brian Kelly said in the interview with Feinbaum yesterday that they saw 85 to 90% drop 8 against Ole Miss. Yet they ran it 21 times, threw it 34, and managed only 54 yards on the ground. Please help me make sense of why there's that imbalance in this offense when you're facing three-man fronts.
And it was a one-score game, Matt.
Yeah.
One-score game. I was bothered by a little bit of the plan this week, and I didn't know the percentage. You could tell they were dropping into coverage because it's a good quarterback, and you felt make him go through his reads and see if they'll not be greedy. And you know, the oldest cliche in the book is take what they give you. Well, take what they give you means run it downhill. Now, I don't know if that means that LSU is concerned about a couple injuries on the offensive line. They got manhandled at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, which isn't typical LSU in my mind now. I know the offensive line's got to play better, but they had their way with LSU's defense this week, not even in the point total, but just with balance. Lane did run it. Well, they run off from 170 yards or something, and the backup quarterback played good football. I can't make sense of it, Matt. I'd love to. You know my affinity for LSU Tigers and for Nussmeier, and maybe that's part of it. Nuss has not played up to the expectations I think we all have, and I hold out hope that he will. Now, whether that's a combination of line play, game plan, execution, and a run game, but the fact that they can't run it, and we know Ole Miss has gotten more physical. Now, if you'd have told me going into this game, and you'd never watched football other than knowing the reputation of teams, and you told me that they were going to get physically punched in the face, I'd have said, LSU, that doesn't happen that often. Well, It happened to an Ole Miss team because most of the time our perception of Ole Miss is what? They want to run it, but they're finesse. We get that feeling of it. But Lane wants to run it. Trust me. Sarkisian wants to. Guys from that system, Mike Leach, they want to run it. But when you make them throw, they're usually pretty efficient at it because of all the formations and window dressing they give you. I was surprised by it. And then when you do that and you're throwing it more than you're running it when they're dropping 8, one is you got to have a game. You got to have a come to Jesus, game plan check. 2 is you're putting the quarterback in a bind to try to do more than he needs to, and it's hard to be patient for 4 quarters in any league, let alone in this one, when they're controlling it, running the football a lot and getting chunks. And every series, even though it was close, you're pressured into, okay, I got to make more plays. And I'm not making excuses for Nussmeier. Plus, when he gets chewed out by Brian, which seemed to happen a bunch, he met him on the sidelines. I think he does that because he knows Nussmeier is tough-minded and can handle it. That being said, I thought their game plan was average at best. I thought they were physically pushed around which I never would expect, even with the woes on the offensive line of LSU. And the optics were ugly, and the game plan and the end result matched. It was beyond me. Sometimes in a one-score game, you're thinking, well, let's stick to the game plan. And if the game plan is going in, if they drop 8, maybe they were real. I didn't hear Brian's talk if they were confused by it or didn't approach it. But it's like when you play 2 high safeties, and that's not even dropping 8. If you play 2 high safeties and you're rushing 4 in the pass rush, you're getting involved in the run game. When you got 2 high safeties back, they're begging you to run it. Now, when you're dropping 8, they're begging you, whether it's the check down game or whether it's the run game, you've got to be able to move piles, and they weren't. And it was a hard watch. I was actually shocked by the physical nature which LSU got pushed around this past Saturday.
LSU running backs had 2 rushing attempts in the first half.
Okay, it's unacceptable in any league from Pop Warner. I don't care. In Pop Warner, Matty, when we put the best player with the ball and say, you just go do your thing, and he ends up running it. But it was opposite. 2 rush, you just can't do that, especially against a team that is pretty damn explosive when it's a Lane Kiffin offense. You've got to shorten the game. You just do, even though you've got a hell of a quarterback too. I thought that they were out-coached, and I don't say this much coming on your show, out-coached, out-executed, out-physicaled, and out-finessed. Yeah. There wasn't really anything that LSU did better than Ole Miss. Ole Miss is better than the 13th or 14th ranked team going into that game. And I'm going to tell you, they're going to have a hell of a week this week because LSU did not look like a team that belongs in the Final Four. And I've seen that with a bunch of teams. I think we're seeing a lot of average quarterback play across the board in the NFL and on Saturdays. We are. And I expect more from Nuss, and so does he, and so does LSU. But I also know this. It's really hard when you run the ball 2 times in the first half. If you're Superman, it's hard to complete balls when you're in that situation and they're dropping 8. And usually when they're dropping 8, you have to do everything underneath, and you got to be patient enough for 4 quarters to do it.
Okay, I'm glad you went there because I want to talk about Garrett because that's been the other giant part of this conversation, Sean. And a couple of weeks ago, Brian Kelly disclosed Nussmeier was dealing with a torso injury, whatever.
Yeah,
and physically against Southeastern last week, I'm not talking about who they played, but I'm just talking about physically, right? Pushing the ball downfield, he looked fine. So you have a day like you have against Ole Miss, and it's stirred up all these questions again if Garrett's hurt. So I guess there's a 2-part that I want to ask you. 1, when you're watching him on Saturday, physically, did you notice anything different? That's 1. 2 is whenever you drop 8, how difficult is it to find open receivers and maybe to be patient?
Very, very. And that's the thing. What defensive coordinators' philosophy is when you go in with that, and the NFL and college level, their thought process is, and what's one thing that we've always talked about Nuss? Guts, right?
Yeah.
He ain't afraid to take a chance. And Kiff knows that. Lane knows that 100%. So you go into a game, and they're well coordinated on both sides of the ball, is Ole Miss. When you go into a game like that, when you balance it out and drop 8 people, and even if you were able to get out, which you should, if they're dropping 8, your 5 should be able to handle their 3.
Yes.
And if you can't, then you got a major issue. It's inexcusable at any level for 5 guys not to be able to handle 3, whether it's sacks or pressures. They add up. You just absolutely have to, which means you better get 5 out. Running back, tight end, 3 wides, 4 wide receivers, running back. I don't care what your personnel grouping is, and what you have to get 5 out. And if you have to keep a guy in with 5 out, it's an embarrassment to your offense. It just is. Now, moving forward. Now, think about it. When they're dropping out and they're dropping 8, and you've got all the underneath stuff, and you're dropping, whether you're playing too high, dropping 8, or whether you're playing off and quarters. I don't want to get too technical with people that you have to explain it because you can't draw it up right now. But
sure.
It's very difficult. And what defensive coordinators' philosophy is, they're willing to bet that you're not willing to go 3 series, 75 yards, and check the ball down. Now, when you get to your brilliance, and you guys there in Louisiana have seen it a million times. When Drew Brees was there, he was willing to do it, the NFL level. Shallow cross, check down, check down, check down. And then the defense finally says, oh, that's 8. That's 2 series in a row where he's been willing to methodically go down the field. Because you all want to have the guts, and you want to fit it in a tight window. That's the quarterback position. If the guy's got any guts, show me a quarterback without guts, I'll show you a guy who shouldn't be playing the position. But it's got to be judicious when you are doing that. So what happens is Then you start to check it down. They got to come up and make a tackle. 4-yard gain, 3-yard gain, 5-yard gain, which to me, 5, 4, and 3 adds up to 12 yards. That's a first down. But what happens, and if you'll do that, what they do, and Breeze and Manning were so good at it, Brady as well, to be able to, linebacker's tired of driving on the ball and making a tackle in the open field. Bam. They jump it the next time. Then you can hit your plays down the field. But they are banking on the fact that you're eventually going to make a mistake. Either hold the ball too long, your offensive line's been struggling, you're banged up, or you're going to try to force one because you're tired of checking it down and you pre-snap guess it. So you take shots, ball gets knocked down, 3 and out. And then when you run the ball 2 times in the first half, hell, if I was going in at halftime, and halftime adjustments can be overrated, if you saw that and you're Ole Miss, what are you saying? They don't have the patience or the wherewithal today to run the ball. And they don't think they're good enough to do it. So keep dropping 8. Their best players under center. Make it miserable on him to have to make completions. That's 1. 2, I did not see, for the naked eye, and maybe you did, Matt, and I watched the whole game. I did not see anything visible to me that would say physically, but you could tell the frustration of the impatience and the frustration of what he was going through, which that's normal for a quarterback, but you've got to fight it. You're not fighting coverage, then you got to fight yourself. Whether you like the game plan, whether you like the decisions, whether you like what's going on, whether you've lost trust somewhere, you still got to force yourself to elevate everybody else. And if that means throwing 6 checkdowns, you absolutely have to do it because you will get yourself in trouble. And Matt, you're drawing it up, trying to fit 4 or 5 receivers into dealing with 8, we always play the numbers game in sports and in football. We're always taught to play the numbers game. You got 3, I want my 3 on your 2. You got 4, I'm going the other way. I want my 3 on your 2. Opposite rotation, wherever it is. But when you're dropping 8, where is that? Where's that hole? Where's that hole? They're begging you to run the football and check it down. And if you don't do either, and you're not patient enough to do either, you're in major, major trouble. And then what happens as a quarterback, you get so tired of it. Like I said, you think, I got to take a shot because whether it's boring, we're not making enough chunk plays out of it. So you almost will yourself to make it a throw down the field, and that's when you get in trouble. And I could see the frustration on Nussmeier's face, but I couldn't see if there was anything physically wrong. Now, if that question is persisting this week, Matty, I will tell you this, as good as we think he can be and to elevate and how tough he is, if there is something wrong and you are limiting him into that he can't push it down the field or the ball's not coming out like you want it to, then you absolutely have to have the guts as a coach to say, then even at 80%, if he's better, we have got to make a change. I'm not suggesting bench him, but if he's physically, difference between being hurt and being injured. Hurt, you play. Injured, it's too much. And that's for them to decipher because I'm not in the medical business, but I can tell you this, it looked like a confused, obviously not balanced, but a frustrated, even Brian himself looked frustrated and impatient, and that permeated through the whole team. And then on the other side, when you're watching your defense get gashed in a run game and them, running the football and committing to it, and you getting physically pushed around, which is not the nature of LSU, especially on that side of the ball, it wasn't a good thing. And they had their ass handed to them this weekend. They did, even though the score said closer, they got pushed around at Ole Miss, and it was a very, very difficult game to watch if you're an LSU fan. Frustrating.
Sean Salisbury is our guest. Not got a quick break. Got a big one in the Dome this weekend for a lot of different reasons, not in the standings, but Jaxson Dart's first road start. Can Spencer Rattler finally get a win? I want Sean's thoughts on that. We'll do that as we jump around to the NFL when we come back here on AFR Powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
AFR.
GLO, glowresources.com. They are complete employer solutions at Glow Resources. Their business is helping your business be more efficient by finding the right people. Boil it down to this. No matter what industry you're in, if you're an engineering firm, if you're a media company, if you're a law firm, if you do skilled blue-collar labor, whatever it may be, the industrial sector, you're only as good as your people. Your people make you efficient. So you have to have the right people in the right jobs. If, especially post-COVID, you are struggling in hiring and finding the right people, Glow Resources can help. They find you permanent solutions. This isn't temp staffing. They find you permanent solutions. Skilled blue-collar labor. Their professional placement division can find you any office job, and they use their network of resources across the country to find the best people. So start online at glowresources.com.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Well, yeah, he's one of our better players. I think one of the better players at his position in the league. So he has an ACL, so he'll be out. We'll have a tremendous amount of support for him and his family. It's obviously a tough loss for our football team, but we'll regroup and we'll get the guys ready to play that are here and be as good as we can be on the perimeter. I know those guys will do everything they can do to be as good as we can be.
Brian Daboll with the unfortunate news about Malik Neighbors out for the season with a torn ACL. Sean Salisbury is our guest. He's on Twitter at Sean Unfiltered. Sports Talk 790 weekday mornings there in Houston, the Sean Salisbury Show. And if you are not yet subscribed, Unpaved on Rumble is the YouTube channel, weekdays, noon central. Sean, how much, this will feel obvious, but I'm just asking you for a gauge here. How much does not having Malik Neighbors impact Jaxson Dart making his first career road start Sunday in the Superdome?
Oh, Matt, I'm always fascinated when people say, oh, you lost a good player, but they'll be fine. No, they won't. It's not fine, okay? You lost an explosive guy who, even if he doesn't, you hear it, oh, they're going to be fine. Yeah, they're fine if you're running the 4x100 meter relay team and you got 4 Usain Bolts, the 3 other guys behind it, it's not fine. You're losing. Oh yeah, the Bengals will be fine offensively. Chase and Burrow aren't playing. Oh, okay, thanks, guys. So yeah, I mean, when I hear that, I look like, oh, what is it? I understand glass half full, but overflowing with optimism, I get it now. Yeah. That being said, I think it affects Russ Wilson more than it does Jaxson Dart. Jaxson Dart's a more explosive player right now. I thought Russ Wilson was a backup going in. I said it. Did I expect that coming out with the energy? Russ Wilson, a pro. I know he threw for 460 or 455 against the Cowboys. Right. Then again, who can't, the way the Cowboys play defense? Right. But with that, there's a different energy, and you saw it on Sunday. I know the stats weren't gaudy, but the one stat that I like is not only did they win the game, but you saw the way not only the offense, but you saw the energy that the defense played with against the opponent. And they gave big Chargers fits in the football game. They were physical. They got after it. So whenever you lose a guy like that, and a lot of times when that guy's not there, Neighbors, is the game plan's easier to put in for the defense. It just is, because you're saying, okay, now you don't take it for granted, but you lose a home run hitting guy that is a great player. So we understand the bandwidth now has been shrunk a little bit. So now you're putting in a game plan to say, okay, what's the next strength? And it's obviously the energy, but it's a combination of Jaxson Dart with his legs and his arm. But now you limit it so you don't have to double anybody right now on that team. So it gives you more width with your defense to be able to do some things. That being said, though, I would rather, if I'm the New Orleans Saints, be playing Russ Wilson. I would. I know it's the second start because the energy is different and it's permeating through the team. I think Jaxson Dart's going to be a really good player. He's going to go through struggles, as all rookies do. But if you're Jaxson Dart, and this is no disrespect, but the Saints, the Bengals, teams like that right now are not playing really good football, which is a Captain Obvious statement. So if you're him, you without Neighbors, you'd rather be doing this than having to go to where you guys did last week and go play Buffalo, right, or having to go into a defense that's like, wow. And he faced a little bit of that last week. So there's an energy about him. And when Brian Daboll hugged him after the game, that smile, I thought, Brian not only smiling, he's thinking, you might have saved my job, dude. And I got nothing but respect for Russ Wilson. Sure. But it was time. He's a backup in the league now, and you could see the response to the team. Dart will go through it, but it's a chance now for the Saints and Rattler to go get a win, which has been kind of blah for them. He's not killing you offensively, but they're not exploding. Although they ran the football really damn well, They're just not – there's no explosive plays for them for the most part. So this is I know Neighbors is out, but you're playing Jaxson Dart. There will be energy with the Giants, and he looks like Russ Wilson did when Russ Wilson was a rookie, using his feet, being smart, attacking and being aggressive, and playing with fire and loving it. There's no fake enthusiasm with Jaxson Dart. The Saints will still be challenged, and you know how it goes when you get new blood. It feels like there's a different energy about them, but this does give the Saints a chance because they can understand that the big play is going to be a lot tougher without Neighbors in the lineup.
And so when you flip it, look, Dart gets his first win in his first career start. Spencer Rattler's 0-10. He's still fighting for the first win. Kellen Moore's 0-4. The Saints are actually a small favorite in this game at home against a rookie quarterback, which I get. How do you look at that matchup with Spencer Rattler in the Saints offense against the Giants defense, which, I mean, I don't know if it's the way you feel, but hard to ignore the 6 sacks they got this week against the Chargers. But Rattler against the Giants defense, how do you sort of look at that?
He better – the ball's got to come out, man. I was just – before you said it, I was reading your mind and thinking, I'm going to tell you, they're playing with some juice up front. That was going into the season maybe their biggest strength, their ability to get after the quarterback. And it ain't just one cat, man. And you start doubling them, now it limits your protections. The ball's got to come out quicker. You may have to see some of Rattler use some of the extension of his legs like he did a lot more in high school, even though he's considered a drop back guy. He was able to make some plays when he was playing in Arizona. But and I know that's a long time ago, but how you muster it up, you're just going to have to deal with it. And here's another problem. If they can get pressure, we've seen this in the past. I'm not saying the Giants are Michael Strahan's Giants, but the way Spags won Super Bowls as on a defense and the way the Giants did it, they pressured with 4, did not have to. You can drop 7, which makes it even more tough on a team that doesn't have a lot of explosives. So once again, you complete 18, 19 balls for 195 yards and no huge plays right into their hand. But I can tell you, it will speed up your game plan time clock. When you're putting it in, you're putting in your offense. If you're the Saints, you're saying, okay, we're not real good. We don't have a lot of explosives. They don't have to play man coverage if they don't want to behind us, because behind their pass rush, because they're generating enough pressure. And it also gives them the advantage of being able, if they can defend the run without having to A-gap blitz, that'll be the challenge. If you can stop the run and just make Spencer Rattler play patient. And when you've lost this many in a row as a starting quarterback, Matty, what do you think the first thought process for a quarterback is? Yeah. Forcing a big play. Yeah, we talked a little bit about it with Nuss, but even more so because you're not only carrying the burden about, well, they're getting pressure with 4. What do I do? And I'm facing some zones against them. Now we don't have a lot of big plays, so now they're able to get pressure. And if they can stop the run, then you start thinking, and if you're Rattler, I would do the same thing. Where do I find this area where I can fit a ball into where we can change the course of what we're doing? Now, I've seen a lot of young quarterbacks go through hell, I'm not comparing him to Aikman, but Troy was, I think, 1-10 or 1-11, getting his brains beat in as a rookie. And it turned out he went to the Hall of Fame. I'm not saying Rattler, but at some point in time, you think one of these days it's going to change for me. The question is, how long will they allow this, and how can Rattler continue to say, okay, just don't turn it over, and maybe playing against a rookie that he's the experienced one in the game, meaning Rattler, that we can get something going. I couldn't pull any harder for Spencer Rattler to get one, because once you get one, maybe they get 2 or 3 more, but it'd be worse if they were a good team and they were losing because of him.
Yeah.
Right now, they're still losing in spite of him and not a lot of big plays. So the frustration exists. And while they should be favorites at home, I don't think it's a surefire win for them. They have to run the football if the Giants are going to play, a couple high safeties, or if they're just going to play with a 4-man and pressure you that way. They're going to have to run it again this week, but somehow, some way, maybe it's a block punt, they're going to have to establish some bigger plays on the offense, whatever that might be, and get a couple short fields, because the energy will be in the building, because Dart's going to treat it like he's playing in a playoff game. He's not going to take it lightly because it's only a second start, and he wants that job to be his from here on.
Yeah. I got one more for you, and you're right. Look, I don't think there's anything that's a sure thing for these Saints. I mean, they're not a very good team, but Giants, Patriots, like, you're in a bad division. You get 2 swings at Carolina. You get 2 swings at Atlanta. They get the Jets at home. I mean, there's some opportunities, but my question for you, Sean, is, look, the Saints they're going to finish with one of the worst records in the NFL. They're going to probably have a top 5 pick, which means they'll have an opportunity to maybe draft a quarterback in the top 5 next year. So at some point, though, you got to figure out what you have in Tyler Shuck, right? So, I mean, you don't want to kick Rattler to the curb, but you also have to recognize you spent the 40th pick on Shuck. What do you have here? And is there enough with either of these guys to pass on drafting a quarterback in the top 5 next year? So how do you approach that?
This is the most depressing conversation I've ever had with you, Matt. You talk about LSU. Normally, one of them's fired and stuff. It's like, damn,
Yeah.
I don't usually have to talk about both like this because it's like, it's a bummer. And you have to do it 5 days a week. So I get it. And I'm obviously kidding a little bit, but it's got to be a frustrating week for a lot of people in Louisiana talking about these two teams. A couple things to this. One is, and let me back it up a little bit. Right now, and I know this is going to sound crazy. Do you see a top 5 pick in this draft at quarterback playing college football right now?
No,
Results? I don't.
No, but I also would have never
You're going to
thought.
do it anyway because that's what we do every year. You're 100%.
Sure.
I get it. And familiarity. I do. But I'm saying performance-wise. But, it's a long season, the off season, doing your pro day. They're going to because just by attrition, you have to. Now, the Saints don't have to because it's been since Archie Manning since they decided to do it. So it may be time after 800 years at a time. Now, moving it forward, and plus fan base, like when's it going to happen? Obviously, Arch, if he comes out, maybe a favorite there. Nuss, if it goes and he proves that I'm worthy of a top 5 pick, which I still think he's got a skill set, of course. I don't quit on guys after a slower start. I do believe if you're going to do it, and it's not, you do got to see. Just like in Cleveland, at some point, Flacco, I love him. God bless him. I got to see if Gabriel's the answer, if Shadur's. I just do. I do. And it's the same thing here. There comes a point in time, as much as you may say it's not Rattler, and he's playing fine but not explosive, you do got to say, okay, what's going to get us that win? Is it the energy like Dart brings and it could bring it to you? You do. Because, Matty, what you don't want to do is go into next year saying, well, we're not winning with this guy. We stuck with him even though we didn't win. And then the guy that we drafted that comes highly regarded, even though he's not a first-round pick, and he's got some experience, a little older, if you don't see him, now you go into spring and you go into the draft saying, well, what do we do? We didn't give him a look. Do we wait till a later round again, which is the history of the Saints, and then he's our guy next year if he wins the job in spring or in fall camp? Or do you say we're drafting one anyway, and you've kind of said, well, one of them's going to go. They're both not here, and Shook will be the backup even though it hadn't worked. I promise you if this continues another game or two, they are going to play him. Regardless of the stats, the only stat that they're going to have to, if you're Kellen Moore, say, I got to see if there's this boost we need. Hell, Russell threw for 455 or 460, and you benched him.
Yeah. Because
the next week he wasn't good. So the stats are fine and dandy, but it's the wins and losses. Just out of sheer frustration. It's not a dog on Rattler. It's just we got to find spark. I've been on teams that have had to do it as a starter, college and pro, and I've been on teams that had to do it when I was a backup. And I've seen it both ways. So, and it's just, man, we got to find something. I would say we are in the 2 to 3 week range that if it continues like we've seen, just kind of blah offensive football, you are going to have to see what you got. And if he plays well, you run it out. I don't know if you're going to toggle back and forth, but if he plays well, then you're going to say, okay, it's his job to lose now, and we're going to run it out. And then if he plays well enough to say, hold off on one, because in truth, Matt, you and I both know the Saints with the salary cap hell are still 5 players away from being 5 players away. They need more than just that guy at quarterback. So you do got to see what Shook can do before it's over. Both at some point in time are going to start because I don't see any miracles happening offensively right now. And it's going to fall on the quarterback, even though it probably shouldn't fully, but it will. And Kellen Moore knows the pressure that continues to mount. You will see Shook if this continues the next couple of weeks before the end of October would be my guess if they're just not exploding on offense.
Sean Salisbury, host of the Sean Salisbury Show, weekdays on Sports Talk 790 in Houston. Make sure if you haven't done it yet, get to Unpaved on Rumble. That's a YouTube channel, Unpaved on Rumble. Subscribe there and follow him on Twitter, X, at Sean Unfiltered. Man, we always appreciate you. We'll do it again next week. Thank you. Cool. I think we might have lost audio there. We appreciate Sean. Thanks as always, man. It is After Further Review. Thanks for hanging out with us here. We're brought to you by Our Lady of the Lake Championship Health Partner of LSU Athletics, OLOLRMC.com/LSU. That's the website if you want to learn more about that championship health partnership. But we always say as well, of course, Our Lady of the Lake is part of the Franciscan Missionaries of Our Lady Health System, which is a multi-state health system that serves all of Louisiana. And they've committed more than $250 million into facility upgrades just in the next year at so many of their different facilities. So no matter what it may be, if it's specialized care, if it's pediatrics, if it's heart health, if it's cancer services, stroke, Our Lady of the Lake can help the same way they care for the student athletes at LSU. It's the championship health partner, Our Lady of the Lake and LSU. Together, we roar. Okay, y'all, let me knock out a quick break. Otter Locks here in about 15 minutes. Got baseball going on right now with the Yanks and the Sox. We'll see what Jimmy's got us betting on tonight. Otter Locks will be live at louisianasports.net if you want to go get those plays right now. We'll knock out a quick break and continue here on AFR.
AFR. After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
She's the only one who really understands what gets me.
Thank a farmer. Our friends at Sunshine do every single day. Sunnyquip.com, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Sunshine, newest location coming on Pico in Baton Rouge. Soon I pass it every day when I'm driving home. Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Interesting piece up at Yahoo. It was Nick Bromberg who wrote it, and the title was College Football Winners and Losers coming out of this weekend. He says, the SEC has a lot of very good teams. Does it have any really great ones? And of course, we just saw Alabama beat Georgia. We saw Tennessee go to overtime against Mississippi State. We saw LSU kind of getting a slugfest there with Ole Miss and come up short. All the preseason expectations of Texas as the preseason number one team losing the way they did to Ohio State and not really looking impressive. You can go up and down the list and look at warts for every team, really. As impressive at times as Oklahoma has been, now you look at the concern with losing their quarterback with a hand injury. When John Mateer was really the preseason or was emerging as a front runner for the Heisman. Of course, we saw Alabama lose to Florida State, and then even in the win against Georgia, got shut out in the second half, gave up over 200 rushing yards. There's just a whole bunch of warts. And my theory on this is I think this is just going to become the norm in college football. I think the days of seeing a truly dominant team in the SEC or the Big Ten or anywhere is just going to be a thing of the past. It's going to go the way of the dodo bird, because the transfer portal isn't going to allow for you to build great depth. I mean, one of the reasons primarily why Nick Saban was able to build the sustained success he did over a decade and a half was every year they signed the best high school class. And those guys couldn't leave. So they stayed and developed. And so they always had better depth. But behind every five-star was another five-star. Well, now your five-stars don't play, they don't stay. We've gone over these numbers before, but roughly a third of every player in college football goes into the portal in a given year. And so if you have that happen at your program over the course of 2 years, you're basically turning over half your roster. So that's all of your young depth. And you can't help but think of, okay, look at the problem LSU has, right now on the offensive line. Okay, well, what if Lance Hurd stayed? I mean, I understand, he's had some issues at Tennessee, but he would have been a third-year player starting right now as a former five-star taking over for Will Campbell. You'd had another five-star waiting in the wings, ready to take that spot. You'd be in a much better spot, wouldn't you? In theory. And you could do that at every position. Literally all the positions where you've brought in guys that have left via the portal. So, I mean, I understand that that's the nature of it. And I'm a guy that wholly endorses players' ability and right to transfer and go make money in NIL, and I'm for that. So I'm not bemoaning the situation. I'm just explaining that I think this is what's going to be the norm. And so instead of a heavy emphasis on high school recruiting, you're going to see more of an emphasis on the portal. We had Shea Dixon with us in hour one. And look at, and by the way, this is one of the reasons why, despite as ugly as it was Saturday, and I know some people are melting and saying they're going to go 6-6, but I mean, you're the same people that said that in 22 when LSU lost an ugly game to Florida State. They got blown out at home by Tennessee. And what happened? They beat undefeated Ole Miss. They beat Alabama at home. They end up in the SEC championship game. Like, say it in every sport all the time. And I don't mean for it to sound cliche, but it's true. Teams can improve. Like, you work on things. You get better. It's a long season. Just play it out. I know some of you want me to yell and scream and curse and throw things. I've just done this long enough to know, be patient and play the long game. And maybe it won't be great. And if it's not, there'll be reaction and consequences at the end of the season and all that stuff. But all that to say, without a dominant team in the SEC or in college football, everything is in play for you right now. And I think this is actually good for college football because it breeds parity instead of just the assumption that, well, it's Bama, Georgia. Well, Bama, Georgia, Ohio State, or whatever it's going to be, right? The 3-4 teams that actually have a shot to win a national championship. Now, like, would it stun you? Like, would you be fall over stunned if Ole Miss made the playoff and beat Penn State? I wouldn't. Would you be surprised if Oregon beat Georgia in the playoff? Or if Oklahoma got in behind John Mateer and they were able to beat, I don't know, Florida State? It's just, you look up and down, look sea to shining sea, and like, this is the point. This has bred more parity, and you could say it's watered down the sport. I disagree. I think it's just leveled the playing field. I just think your superpowers have just now been diluted a bit more. And to the contrary, at the bottom, at the G5 or G6 level, when you have really good players, they've been able to elevate. Look, like, I know A.J. Halsey was at Houston, which is a Power 4 now, but look at that. Isn't that a great example? Guy was a 3-star, so nobody wanted him out of high school. He goes to New Mexico, then ends up at Houston. Now he's playing like an All-American. Like, A.J. Halsey is playing like an All-American, certainly an All-Conference safety, and could end up being a high draft pick. Good for him. Great for him. Great for LSU. It's just different. We just have to reframe how we think about roster building and how seasons play out. You just someone's got to be patient. I know nobody wants to hear it, but man, talk about Ohio State a year ago. Like, if you have any interest, maybe we'll do this. Maybe we'll do this tomorrow. This could be a good thing tomorrow. Let's go like dig and find some of the narratives on Ohio State, some columns and some things from, like, I'm serious. But the whole thing on Ohio State last year was how Chip Kelly couldn't figure out the offense. They were winning games, but then they lost to Oregon. Then they lost a 6-6 Michigan or a 500 Michigan team. I guess they finished 6-6 after they beat Ohio State. And then they figured it out. They got in the tournament. They figured it out. So, listen, I'm not here to sunshine pump. I get everybody's pissed about the Ole Miss loss, and you should be. It's perplexing what's happened. I'm just saying it's a long season. You got a long way to go, and you got a very talented roster capable of beating anybody on your schedule. Get healthy and find a running game, for the love of God. At least commit to running the football. Like, go in the power I. Like, what's wrong with that? Let's go under center, go in the power I, and let's just run the football. Do some play action. A little less miles isn't a bad thing. Too much less miles is not good. A little less miles isn't a bad thing. We're brought to you by First South Farm Credit. FirstSouthLand.com. FirstSouthLand.com. If you're thinking buying land, your first call should be to First South Farm Credit. That's what Macy Rushing and her husband did. And I had a chance to talk to her, and she told me her story.
We are first-generation cattle farmers, and we were nervous. Like, we didn't know where to go, what to do, and they had all the answers, and they were with us, like, every step of the way, and they made it so easy. It
doesn't matter if you're a cattle farmer, if you're or a cattle rancher, a farmer, if you're trying to buy that property to build your family's dream home, or you want the recreational property, you're going to have an amazing experience, and that's what Macy Rushing and her husband had.
They're just good people. They're fun. Normally when I go into the bank, I'm like nervous, like, oh, I got to go pay a bill, or, oh, I have a question. And I walk right in. My kids go grab a sucker. I walk right through the doors to my loan officer's office. He's like, hey, you want to grab lunch? Or at the end of the day, it's a bank and you're there for a reason. But at the end of the day, we've made friends with our loan officers. Overall, it's just been an amazing experience. I've recommended people to them. I've sent people their way. And every single one of my friends has had the exact same experience.
Don't take my word for it. Listen to Macy Rushing. First South Farm Credit. Your first call, should be to First South Farm Credit. FirstSouthLand.com. FirstSouthLand.com. All right, y'all, it's after further review. Yankees up on the Red Sox 1-0. Their bottom three in the Bronx. We'll knock out a break. Jimmy will be here for Autolocks. Don't you move. AFR.
AFR.
It is officially time to break out the heater safety check. Tell you about it every single year and why it's so important. And our friends at River City's 1 Hour Air make this so affordable. Remember, in Louisiana, I mean, we crank up our heaters, from maybe like November, maybe December to March, maybe one more cold snap, March 8, beginning of April. But the point being, your heater lays dormant for months, collecting dust, not being used. It can be hazardous. It's why before that first cold snap hits, before you crank on the heater, call River City's 1 Hour Air. Let them do their heater safety check. Make sure it's safe and efficient. And mention the show. They'll save you $30. 752-0001, 752-0001, 752-0001 for River City's 1 Hour Air.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Down the stretch we come, final segment here on this Tuesday edition of AFR. Powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Live from the Raising Cane's studio. Got little cane there, got big cane there, got canes everywhere. Canes here, canes there, canes everywhere. All right, time for Autolocks. Hit it, Muse.
Autolocks.
All right, time to win some money.
Presented by Total Maintenance AC Repair. Same-day service means you will never sleep hot. 480-1000. We are Total Maintenance.
I think it's safe to say that I won the bet.
Otter, how are you?
Good, Matt. How about you?
Doing fantastic. Yankees are beating the Red Sox right now, Otter.
1-0 into 3. Good shape. It's fun.
Shut up.
A little controversy to keep Volpe in the lineup instead of Chisholm, and he goes Oppo.
How about it?
I mean, of all people.
Boone's a brilliant guy. I always said it. Great manager. Brilliant. Just give him a raise. Give him an extension.
Oh, we'll make sure we limit the ticket purchases to, to New York. Don't want Moscona creeping on in the Yankee Stadium.
You got to play on the night game?
We sure do. We're going to go under again. It's the first day of the playoffs. We talked about it on Live at Lunch earlier today, and so far 2 for 2. And heck, you've got a middle working right here, as this one is on pace to continue that trend. But it's just the pitching is, especially the rested pitching, and also some of those bullpens, especially the Dodgers. And I will give out, I'm not a Dodger fan by any stretch, but their biggest Achilles heel by far has been their bullpen. That bullpen is going to be, that lack of bullpen, rather, is going to be minimized in the postseason. We've seen guys like Patrick Corbin, Charlie Morton, even Bumgarner, come out of the pen and extended outings. So sure. I'm looking for one of those starters. They're rested. Actually, they need a little work, and it's a nice tune-up for them. Plus 550 is available for the Dodgers to win the World Series. But tonight's game, we're going to stick with the under. Reds in the Hunter Green's been pitching really good. And
1 minute remaining.
And Snell has been outstanding as well. Early game tomorrow, the noon game.
Okay.
Going to look for Tyner Bybee for the Guardians to bounce back. Short number there, about -20, -25. Look for the Guardians to bounce back. Tarek Skubal was unbelievable again.
Awesome.
Yeah, man, he's just too damn good. So he was tough in that 2-1 win today.
All right. So the Red Sox on the money line are trailing the Yanks right now. You get actually better price if you want to get on. And then tonight, Reds, Dodgers under 7. And then Guardians tomorrow on the money line. There's an early auto lock play for tomorrow. Where are you tomorrow?
Tin Bomb, Sushi, Burrito, Poke, Ramen of Burbank and Lee, right next to Rouse's.
All right, Otter. Good luck. Thank you.
Good luck, man.
All right, be well. It's after further review. We're getting on down the road. Remember, you miss anything AFR on demand, presented by Breck Golf, YouTube podcast. You find it all there. That'll do it for us. Muse Pauly, thanks. Y'all have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow at 3.
After further review.
If you need standby generator power, you need Arco Power Systems. ARCCO. Arco.com. 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 Say it with me. Arco.com. Arco.
Polo.
There it is. We worked on that yesterday. Arco.
Polo.
Yeah. We'll see if it sticks. Arco.
Polo.
Arco Power Systems. This is not a generator for your home. This is industrial generator power. Okay? So your business, your storm comes, knocks the power out. Ice storm comes, snowstorm comes, knocks power out. What do? Arco Power Systems. San Antonio to Mobile, north to Little Rock, and everywhere in between. Arco.com. Check them out. For your business, Arco.com.